Watching a loved one suffer with Alzheimer's can be incredibly difficult and at times devastating. CBSN Minnesota's Liz Collin followed the journey of one family over the past 6 years. Here's a preview of Liz's special report, Living with Memory Loss.
Paul Quinn is perhaps the coolest guy I've ever met. He's the salt of the earth.
He's a retired family physician and a retired Navy admiral.
He just loves life. Paul is unfortunately suffering from Alzheimer's. He and his family open up their doors to Liz and I to be able to tell his story.
Because they want the message portrayed that you're not alone.
There's days when we see him and he seems his normal self, and then there's days where you meet him and he doesn't remember his daughter's name.
It's heartbreaking on so many levels.
It's very tragic to see somebody as brilliant as Paul have this disease.
When you see something like this up close, it's impossible not to change you in some way.
I didn't expect us to become as close to the Quinn family as we've become. It's been an honor to be able to document.
Many people will be better off for the Quinns sharing their story. So truly, I am grateful.
And Liz joins us now to discuss her report. So, Liz, you and photojournalist Tom Aviles have been following the Quinn family story for the last 6 years. How did you meet the Quinn family, and what's it been like being a part of their lives for such an incredibly long period of time?
Thank you guys so much for having me this morning. I do appreciate it. We started with the Alzheimer's Association about 7 years ago now, trying to identify a family that we could profile, that we could follow. We had done a story previously about a woman who was diagnosed with breast cancer, and we followed her through that year-long period while she received treatment. And I felt that it was really powerful to document and to see how a family is affected and being there for doctor's appointments. And I just thought that there are so many families in Minnesota going through this memory loss struggle. So let's see if we can find a family who would be willing to share that story with us. And they were able to identify the Quinn family and, Dr. Paul Quinn, who we've been following now for 6 years. Medicine has been his entire life. And he really came to the table and said, I'll be a part of this. I believe that even public awareness is important medicine. So I will go ahead and do this. And it's been really an honor, as we said there in the piece, but also so eye-opening to see how it affects so many people, and just has really brought this family certainly even a lot closer together, and heartbreaking also to watch too.
You know, once a loved one receives a diagnosis like this, inevitably, the family sort of gets together, starts doing research, tries to find out the latest technology, the best treatment, the best whatever you can do to slow the progression. I'm wondering just, how the family is working to help Paul, and, have you noticed any progress?
What's interesting is the caretaker, his wife, Peg, is almost a bit more of the victim when it comes to Alzheimer's disease. And I think that's really been a struggle that we've been able to document, with her finally acknowledging that she does need help and does need to leave her home and take breaks for a while. Paul was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment back in 2013, so he has progressed. They usually say that Alzheimer's is about a 10-year diagnosis, and that the first few can be part of this mild cognitive impairment, and then it goes into more of a moderate stage before a severe stage. So Paul's neurologist has said that he's now in the moderate stage when he did receive that Alzheimer's diagnosis just last year. And I think that it took a while for Peg to ask for help, and they also took advantage of some different treatments in Minnesota. Here we have some great resources, but sadly, there is no cure for Alzheimer's disease, as we know.
Liz, I want to ask you a little bit more about what it's like just for his caretaker. I think oftentimes we rightly focus on the person who's afflicted with Alzheimer's, but we oftentimes in the story lose those who care for them, and just the mental toll that takes, the psychological and perhaps even physical toll that it takes on someone who is caring for a loved one suffering with Alzheimer's, oftentimes I wonder sometimes if they even are able to live a normal life themselves, because it's kind of a 24-hour job. And, you know, even if you happen to get out of the house or you happen to leave the house to go do something to take your mind off of caring for someone, you know, you probably feel guilty about even doing that. And so I wonder what it's been like for Paul's caretaker.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Peg certainly has experienced that guilt herself, and she's opened up and talked about that. But I think the Alzheimer's Association always tries to repeat the message, how important it is for people. I think a lot of people, you know, originally, you know, I'm so sorry about this diagnosis, but this is a long journey. So to continue to reach out to those families and offer your help. They say that is so important. And I think another important point to bring up now is something we've seen through the pandemic. Isolation is not good for patients or for caregivers of people with Alzheimer's disease. So they say that you know, this time has been very difficult for these families because they are kept in their homes for the most part. They're kept away from families, and that social interaction, doctors say too, is just so important to stimulate the brain. And, you know, connect again with those important relationships. So there are a lot of different groups through the Alzheimer's Association, small groups, even some things that have been organized on Zoom and those type of things that they want people to take advantage of. So I think their biggest message is that there are resources available and to take advantage of them.
Liz, Collin, I know that your journalism, your reporting on this topic is going to mean the world to a lot of people who feel very isolated and feel like no one understands. And it's such a, I'm sure for you, it's probably really, it probably makes you feel pretty good about your job to have the ability to stick with this family and tell the entire story. So often we sort of drop in and we can only tell like a little sliver of a story. But as you pointed out, Alzheimer's is a long journey, and being able to sort of document that journey, I think is phenomenal. Thank you so much, Liz.
Thank you, guys. I think that people can go to WCCO.com. There are stories, everything from how to know when it's okay to take the car keys away to estate planning when it comes to Alzheimer's disease. The Quinns, we can't thank them enough for letting us, you know, tell this story. And I am positive that it will help many families. We've received many emails and letters over the years, and people are following the Quinn story closely. And we certainly always wish them the best, but we certainly wish also that there was a better ending.
I love what you said there, though, about some practical advice to deal with a challenging diagnosis. You can stream the full special tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central on CBSN Minnesota.